צהריים טובים, ברשותכם, למען אורחינו שאינם דוברי עברית אעבור לאנגלית. Good afternoon, Minister of Tourism Dr. Uzi Landau, Mr. Yona Yahav, Mayor of Haifa, Dr. Zessler, Chairman of the Hecht Foundation Board and guests of honor, honorable members of the Hecht Foundation Board, Chairman of the Board of Governors, Professor Alfred Tauber, Chairman of the Executive Committee, Ami Ayalon, President Amos Shapira, Rector Professor David Faraji, distinguished guests and friends. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to this ceremony marking the 30th birthday of the Hecht Museum. My name is Ofra Rimon, and I'm proud to have been the museum's director and curator for the last 25 years. Every day, זה לא בתוכנית. Every day, I feel lucky to be surrounded by the unique and beautiful treasures which the Hecht Foundation so generously help us to maintain and develop. We are fortunate to have one of those treasures here, this wonderful pipe organ. It was built by Mr. Gideon Shamir from parts of antique organs purchased by the late Dr. Hecht. Maintaining it requires dedication, so we are full of gratitude for the Hecht Foundation's kind support, which allows us to enjoy its beautiful sounds. It is my pleasure to welcome organist Alexander Klarev, who will be playing variation by the Canadian composer Denis Bedard. Alex, בבקשה. Thank you very much, Alex. And now, it is my honor to invite one of the organ's greatest supporters, who wants to see it part of all university events, President of the University, Amos Shapiro.
Before I start my speech, as Ophira Ayalon talked about the organ, you know, I always think about, except that this is really a marvelous piece, this is also one of the uniqueness of our university, and we should, my dream is that I will hear with this organ, Abba Nagila, and Evenu Shalom Aleichem, and also, you know, some other pieces of music, but it will happen. I understand Minister Uzi Landau has not come yet. We hope he will come soon. So first of all, I'm happy to see you all here. Hecht Foundation Board, Mr. Yona Yav, Mayor of Haifa, Dr. Harry Zessler, Director of Hecht Foundation, members of the Hecht Foundation Board from Switzerland and Israel, Mr. Ami Ayalon, Chairman of the Executive Committee, Ofra Rimon, Director of Curator of the Hecht Museum, and of course, our board, Chairman of the Board of Governors, Professor Fred Tauber, prize recipients, dear guests. It is with great, excuse me, I had so many speeches this week. It is with pleasure that I speak to all of you today on this very festive occasion. I'm as always inspired and awed by the friends of our beloved university to be celebrating 30 years since the establishment of the Reuben and Edith Hecht Museum is truly a remarkable and momentous occasion. Whenever I pass by the Reuben and Edith Hecht Museum, it is always teeming with my life. Young children of various ages excitedly stand at the entrance to the museum, waiting their turn to be guided in. There are always groups of people from Israel and from around the world at the entrance to the museum, eager to begin their tour. This is heartwarming and also heartworking to witness, and I have no doubt Dr. Hecht would have been pleased to see this enthusiasm, as well as the fact that people of all cultures and religions find the museum to be such a cultural gem. A man so enthusiastic about life and what it has to offer will undoubtedly be very happy with this important cultural legacy. And I want to add something else. Under the leadership of Ofira Ayalon, apologize. We reached a remarkable number of visitors of 60,000 visitors per year. So applaud. I think, as a man that believes very much in setting specific goals, I think that we should set the goal for the coming 2 or 3 years to increase this number to at least 150,000 visitors for this wonderful piece of art, collection, archaeological pieces, so we really can make it. And I know that it's also a goal for me, but Harry, put the pressure on this. Put the pressure on us. A man the wonderful piece of music we just heard on the pipe organ that was so generously donated, Dr. Hecht does not need to be embellished with words. It is simply another testament to Dr. Hecht's unique character and his spirit. He will be happy to know that every time this wonderful instrument is played, our thoughts and mind take flight, and for as long as the music is played, we are transported to another place. What a wonderful gift to give, and we treasure it. The Hecht Museum please be seated. The Hecht Museum strives to be the cutting edge of technology and improving the viewing experience of the visitor. In keeping with this, the museum and its partners are developing a novel museum visitor's guide system based on mobile technology. This is the wonderful product of a fruitful collaboration with the Institute of Trento in Italy and the Caesarea Rothschild Institute at the University of Haifa. This will enhance the museum visit for visitors and adapt it to their viewing pleasure and personal preferences. I wish to convey my personal gratitude to Dr. Harry Zessler, my friend, the chairman of the Hecht Foundation, who has been a true friend and supporter of the museum and the University of Haifa. Thank you, Harry. I am proud to mention that Dr. Zessler is also an honorary doctorate recipient from the university, and we are extremely proud of that fact. As president of the University of Haifa, I am extremely proud that the Hecht Museum is such a major drawing point to the beautiful university campus. The staff of the museum, headed by its director and curator, Ofra Rimon, makes it its mission to make certain the museum exhibition are fascinating and interesting to all age groups, and that the permanent exhibitions are as interesting as ever. Thank you, Ofra. I wish to take this opportunity to thank the museum staff for its dedicated work and for making the Hecht Museum synonymous with quality. The museum is the only one of its kind in Israel, as it is the only such museum in the academic institution. As such, both the museum and the university enjoy a fruitful relationship and collaboration, as is evident by the wonderful showcase of students' art pieces which we saw today. These students from our wonderful art school have tried to capture in their work the 30 years of museum activities, and 3 of them will receive awards of their work generously provided by the Hecht Museum, by the Hecht Foundation, sorry. So thank you again. Dr. Hecht's vision lives on, and we are grateful that he has made certain it lives on through us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shapira, for all your support. Our museum, the only one on a university campus in Israel, is lucky to have the support of the Hecht Foundation, which ensures that the vision of its founder, the late Dr. Hecht, lives on. The Hecht Museum is one of the leading museums in Israel, and I am honored to invite to the stage a true friend and a recipient of an honorary doctorate of the university in 2010, Chairman of the Hecht Foundation, Dr. Harry Zessler, please.
My daughter told me, if you are in Israel, you have to start in Hebrew. So I'm to him, Rabotai. And now in English. Mr. Amos Shapira, President of the University, Deputy Presidents of the University, members of the Board Governance, Mr. Avian, President of the Board of Governors, members of the Hecht Trust, Minister Dr. Uzi Landau, Advocate Hagai Siton, Mr. Dror Zessler, Mr. Yossi Achimeir, Mr. Blöchinger and Mr. Brunswick, which came especially from Switzerland for today. Thank you for coming. It's my honor and pleasure to greet in the name of the Hecht Trust at the celebration of the 30th anniversary of the Hecht Museum. I want to tell you in a few words about the man who was the owner of the archaeological items and the art collection, the man who had the idea and was the initiator of setting up this museum, Dr. Reuven Hecht. I had the great honor and privilege to work with Dr. Hecht closely during a period of about 40 years. A lot of time. Dr. Hecht, the son of a German Jewish family who grew up in Switzerland, studied in Munich and in Heidelberg, and got there his degree in economics, was a great Zionist, a brilliant businessman, a man of culture, a philanthropist, and an ardent collector of archaeological items and work of art. When he was a student in Paris, where he studied art for 1 year in Beaux-Arts University, he bought an ancient coin of Agrippa's. This was the event that initiated him the passion for purchasing archaeological items connected with the history of ancient Eretz Israel. He also was enthusiastic about the Impressionist painters, and during the years he bought pictures, most of them paintings in famous Impressionist painters who are here in our museum, University of Haifa. During all this year, gentlemen, he kept his collection in archaeological items and paintings in his house in Haifa. Since he had no children and no heirs, he decided to establish a museum in Haifa, a town he lived and loved. He was also the owner of the Gon, the silo he built in the Haifa harbor. He was one of the founders of the Haifa University, and the natural place to set up the museum was in one of the buildings of the university. Professor Yaakov Meshorer, who was an expert in numismatics and was the first curator of the museum together with Dr. Rachel Chaklili, came from Jerusalem to set up the first time from the museum. This is on the left side where we are sitting. Dr. Hecht was involved in the process of setting up the museum, and he was there when the museum was opened, and he enjoyed it very much. Then there was a time when a rumor reached us that the university was planning to enlarge the library. We were worried that they would seize the area which was promised us for enlargement of the museum. That was the time when Dr. Hecht decided to start with the enlargement of the museum. Around that time, gentlemen, a very nice young man came to the Gon. His name was Gideon Shamir, and he was the only expert organ building in Israel. He told us about two very old organs, which was probably built during the Renaissance period. One was in a church in Jerusalem, the other in a church in Haifa. His suggestion was that Dr. Hecht should buy them both, and he, Gideon Shamir, who is now here, Gideon, stand up please. Thank you so much. Gideon Shamir will construct an organ that will be unique. Nothing like it will be found at any other university or at any other secular hall. He spent 4 years, gentlemen, 4 years, building this organ. And this wonderful instrument needed an appropriate place. We built an auditorium as a part of the museum. We are sitting in this auditorium now. The auditorium is used by the university for holding their concerts, conferences, seminars, and many other activities. The Hecht Museum also, it's not in the center of Haifa, but as the president said, has about 60,000 visitors each year. A special emphasis is given to children's activity in the museum, children that Dr. Hecht didn't have but liked and loved very much. Many school children from different schools are taught their archaeology. I think that was so dear and important to the late Dr. Hecht. I think that our museum is the only one, gentlemen, which has a special program for blind people. The program enabled them to visit the museum, and by touching the exhibit items along the explanation, they can enjoy it very much. They enjoy their visit, and this is very important. We are lucky that about 20 years ago, a very talented, energetic young woman was hired as curator and manager of the museum. As the president said, it was Ofra Rimon. I know the name. Who lifted the museum to a level that, according to critics and according to the press, is the most beautiful, small and compact archaeological museum after the Israel Museum in Jerusalem. This was achieved by Mrs. Raymond and her staff, who works non-stop, days and nights, for the museum's success, and the Hecht Trust thank her and the staff very much. Thank all of you. I hope that the museum will continue to stay on this high standard for many more years to come, as a source of pride to the university, to the town of Haifa, and to the pleasure of the museum's visitor. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Harry. You really are, as we say in Hebrew, the wind in our sails. With your caring attitude and attention, you enable us to sail forward. And now, it is my pleasure to show you my special presentation telling the story of the Hecht Museum in the past 30 years. To mark this anniversary, we are opening today two new exhibitions, which I hope you will have the opportunity to see. The first, on display in the hall in front of the museum, tells its story in photos from the day of its inauguration by Dr. Hecht to the present day. 30 years full of cultural and educational activities and collaborations with university departments. Among the best examples of this was a collaboration headed by Dr. Tzvi Koflik between the University of Haifa Caesarea Rothschild Institute and a major research center in Trento to develop the Intelligent Mobile Museum Visitors Guide. 30 years of abundance of art and archaeological exhibitions, including the unique Ma'agan Michael shipwreck, whose replica is now being built under the leadership of Professor Yaakov Kahanov of the Rekanati Institute for Maritime Studies. The second exhibition displays works of art created by fine art students inspired by our collection. 3 students whose works were chosen as outstanding will receive prizes from the Hecht Foundation. Dr. Zessler, Mr. Ernest Blochlinger, and Mr. Daniel Bronschwig of the Hecht Foundation Board. It is my honor to invite you all to the stage to present the prizes. In first place is Dana Laor Kogan. In the second place, Vadim Nemirovsky. פרופסור שרון פוליאקין תקבל את הפרס בשביל. In the third place, רענן קוסוביץ'. רענן קוסוביץ'? אוקיי. The students are too busy. 3 other students received special distinction for their work. I invite you to please come up to receive your certificates. Noor Ibrahim, שקד קליינמן, אסיה ברזר, Congratulations to all the students participating in the exhibition. I also wish to thank Professor Sharon Polyakin, head of the School of the Arts, together with her colleagues, Professor Philip Renzer, head of the Department of Fine Art, Aya Ben-Ron and Shai Ignatz for their wonderful collaboration. Before we conclude, may I invite President Shapira and Acting Vice President Rachel Kaverman to the stage to present our honored guests today with a token of our gratitude. גם אתם מוזמנים, עוזי, דוקטור עוזי לנדאו, יוסי אחימאיר, דרור, בבקשה, בואו כולם. כן, בסדר. טוב. אז ניתן להם קודם. אז בהזדמנות זו רגע שכבר עליתם לבמה, אנחנו רוצים לשמוע גם אתכם מדברים. יונה, כמה מילים, ואחר כך השר. כמה מילים למוזיאון הכט. כמה מילים.
אין לי בעיה לדבר, אני רק רוצה להודיע, הרי זסלר, זה שאתה עושה כל כך הרבה בעיר, אין הנחות בארנונה.
Ladies and gentlemen, I see Dr. Hecht's name here. Hecht was a great Zionist following the leadership of Theodor Herzl. 110 years ago, 1904. Theodor Herzl, on January, just half a year before he died, met Pius X, the Pope. And when he came to meet the Pope extended his hand. Herzl didn't bow, didn't kiss, as was expected. He felt as the leader of the Jewish people. He came to ask for the Pope's support of the Zionist movement, of the Jewish people having a right to be here in Israel and, of course, to run Jerusalem as the capital of the Jewish state. The Pope denied it all. I've been in the company that had the privilege to welcome Pope Franciscus upon his visit to Israel this week. And I was also in Yad Vashem when he was there. He's a great leader, undoubtedly. Yet, when I look, and putting aside all of the many differences we might have that have to do with the Pope, I look on the following things. First of all, he visited Israel in its capital. He met the president of the state. He met the prime minister. He came to meet the two chief rabbis. He was in the Western Wall. This is unlike what took place 50 years ago when Pope Paul visited the place, avoided any meeting with our leaders, came through the passage of Megiddo. I say all of that because Zionism, that Hecht, with the spirit of Herzl, was one of the great followers in this country. I'm just trying to see what kind of moves Zionism made, strategic moves, with eventually the Pope putting a wreath on the grave of Theodor Herzl in Mount Herzl. It's a strategic change. It's a major change. When I see Dr. Hecht putting up this museum just to show how deep the roots of the Jewish people are in this place, and remembering what the late Yigael Yadin said, that every layer that we uncover in Jerusalem shows how shallow others' roots in this country are. And every layer excavated, uncovered, shows how deep our roots are. I see Dr. Hecht, and I salute him for his contribution to make Zionism, with the Herzlian, and I would add Jabotinsky, touch, goes on, with being fair to everybody, with showing that what we do here is continuing this Zionist endeavor of historical justice, bringing our people here back. And the museums simply show what our connection to this place is. Thank you, Karen Hecht. Thank you to the late Dr. Hecht, and I'm proud to be a member of this board. Thank you.
In appreciation of your support, Dr. Zessler and all the members of the Hecht Foundation Board, Dr. Uzi Landau, Mr. Ernest Blochlinger, Mr. Daniel Braunschweig, Advocate Chagai Siton, Mr. Dror Zessler, and Mr. Yossi Achimeir, we present you with this gift. You remain our constant friends, wise advisors, and generous supporters.
Ofra, there is one last presentation. Under your leadership, Ofra, there is one last presentation. Under your leadership, you and your team have made the Hecht Museum one of the finest attractions in Israel. We would like to present the Hecht Museum with this shield to thank you for your expertise and dedication. And of course, I would like to add my gratitude and appreciation to the Hecht Foundation. Thank you very much.
אלכס, הנשיא שלנו מתעניין בך. הוא רוצה, אני חושבת, שתנגן הווה נגילה. עמוס, תן לי רגע לסיים בצורה מסודרת. I wish to thank the museum staff and everyone involved with the museum, and especially Vice President and General Director Mr. Baruch Marzan for all his support. Thank you very much to all of you. That concludes the ceremony. A celebration lunch is now served outside.